Tiny found potassium nitrate. In those days, back in the 50s, a young boy could go to the local pharmacy and buy all kinds of chemicals. Potassium nitrate was one. Later, he was able to get potassium permanganate. Oh, yes. Anyway, so Tiny took this potassium nitrate, mixed it with charcoal and sulfur, and put a match to it. And it burned really, really well. So Tiny wanted to make a rocket, and he knew that skyrockets were made with this basic substance called black powder, and they were just wrapped with paper. Well, Tiny thought, what a great idea. Let's not do this with paper. Let's do this with aluminum foil. Now, Tiny has always had a penchant for aluminum. Light, somewhat strong, very easy to use material. So he got some aluminum foil from the kitchen and wrapped a bunch of black powder inside of it. Didn't work very well. No, black powder burned, and it seemed like the aluminum just kind of disappeared. Holes came up almost as if it were on fire. Maybe it just melted, but there was never any leftover aluminum, so probably just burned away. So that didn't work too good. But never give up, never give up, never give up. Well, that's what we were taught was the American way. So anyways, Tiny mixed some of this up one time, and everybody was gone from the house. And he went in the house and he found something else to put this powder in. It was a chicken pot pie pan. It was aluminum. And he thought, well, I'll just test this new mixture up. I changed the components a little bit. He did. And he put some and he put it on the coffee table. Now, the coffee table had a glass top, probably about that thick, and a wooden framework around it. So he put this aluminum plate on there, put a match to it, and oh man, did it burn. It burned really, really well. But unfortunately, the glass tabletop cracked, and some of the sparks went on the floor and burnt some of the carpet. Oh man, was Tiny in trouble. You bet. He just knew he was going to really get a licking when Dad got home. Dad looked at it when he did get home, asked what happened, and said, huh. The next day he came back and he said, that tabletop cost us $12.75. Now you've got to pay for that tabletop. And I said, well, what about the burn marks on the floor and the carpet? He said, well, they're not too much. We'll just trim that out. Man, was Tiny ever relieved? His dad didn't lick his bottom, didn't give him a spanking. Only had to pay for the damage. I guess Dad was maybe a little bit proud of Tiny because he was trying something way, way out there. Anyways, so that went on, and I mowed a lot of lawns for the neighbors at 35 and 50 cents a piece to pay for the tabletop, but that got done. So as time goes on, the Sputnik goes up, and everybody gets really, really interested in space flights and rockets. There was an organization called the Pacific Rocket Society. Somehow or other, Tiny found out about this, perhaps through Northrop Institute of Technology. Some of the guys that were in the Pacific Rocket Society were students there. Tiny remembers one guy that was going to build a rocket that was, I think, 6 inches around and 10 feet tall, and it was going to be powered with liquid oxygen and thiokol. And it was projected to go 100 miles high. That was really, really high. But that's what these young guys did in those days. Tiny decided that he would build a rocket too. So he had some machine work done on a block of steel and made a nozzle at all the right angles, got some chromoly steel tubing and put a plug in it, put some fins on it and filled it full of, well, he didn't fill it. He wasn't allowed to fill it. But anyway, Tiny took this out to the Mojave Desert, where the Pacific Rocket Society had a blockhouse and a launch pad, and all the cool things that you needed to go really, really fast and really high. So we were going to fill this rocket. Actually, the pyrotechnic technician did, because you had to be licensed to do that. So this guy was going to fill this rocket full of powdered zinc and sulfur, and put a plug in it, and put a starter in it, not actually a fuse, but a wire, and you pushed a button. And then Tiny built a radio to put in the top of the thing, just to see if they could get a radio to stand up. Wrote a letter to the company that made crystals, and asked if this thing would handle the G-force that was in a rocket launch, and got a letter back from the engineer saying, well, we believe so, but we really haven't tested it. So Tiny says, well, let's go do that. And he put it in there and put it on the rocket. And that day, something was wrong with the powder, with the zinc. It was probably oxidized. That's what the pyrotechnic guy said. Because there were 2 attempted launches, neither one was really very successful. Actually, Tiny's rocket was the only one that went into the air that day. And it only went 500 feet. It was calculated that we should have gone with that rocket. It should have gone about 5,000 feet, a mile high. And that would have been great, but 500 feet. And anyway, something went wrong, and the radio signal was never detected. But that was Tiny's interest in rockets. Yeah, he was really, really interested in rockets. Some years later, he got a job, his first job, real job out of high school other than being a box boy. He got a job at a place called Autonetics, which was a division of North American Aviation. And his job at Autonetics was what was called an electro equipment assembler mechanic. And basically what he did is he put together and tested missile guidance systems for the Minuteman guidance system. And the Minuteman guidance system was an inertial nav set. That means it used inertial guidance.